to topic, and then about 4:40, I'll open the phone lines up to take any questions you may have, as an intuitive and medium to help. So, Deana, I have to say, when I got the book, I love, and unless you really can see it, it's probably hard to understand, but those composition notebooks. The cover, well, the book is basically like the composition notebook. And that really struck me, such a powerful thing when I opened it up and went, wow, because it is the story of Mike Rodriguez in his own words. And when you're reading it, they have it in the book, listeners, is Mike's actual handwriting in his, composition notebook. And then they have it out in type for you to make it easier, obviously, to read. And, Mike's emotions are pouring into this book, and you can feel the energy. And I have to tell you, Deana, I felt a little emotional roller coaster, definitely, as I was reading it, because you do feel through his words and his intentions to want to understand and help himself. And I think that's important to understand about him. He definitely was on a mission to help himself as well as others, that you can feel him in this book. And, I don't know, I don't know, it's just hard to put into words unless you experience the book itself. But
go ahead.
Okay, where would you want to begin? What would you want to tell the listeners, why this, project or passion has been important to you, and, and maybe what they feel, they can learn. Everyone has someone touched by addiction, abuse,
right.
Things in their family, or of someone, or you're in the work to help others. So I think it can help so many people, So why don't you share with us what you feel, this is, and how it can help others.
Thank you. Beth, I think the Mike Rodriguez story has to be told because it goes on a million times a day. It's not an unusual story. It's a usual story. And it's because it is a usual story that we have to expand our awareness to what Mike Rodriguez and others like him experienced. Horrible things happened to Mike, and he wanted to stop horrible things from happening to others, particularly children. You mentioned the format of the book. It is very tactile. It's got a very scrapbook feeling to it. He wrote in the black and white composition books, and when I met him in the 90s, he showed me Children of War, and it was in a black and white composition book, and that's what he had journaled in, which was his salvation, a pen and those notebooks, and he began to compile his story. So we wanted it to be as authentic as it could be, taking the writings right from his actual journals. And as you see in his hand, and if you look on the website, you'll see his handwriting, very strong, very emotional, dark, heavy lines, urging you to understand as the reader what this is all about. This terrible cycle of abuse and addiction. It's the struggle to overcome the addiction that is coupled with the aftermath of an abusive childhood.
Mm-hmm. He says right from the beginning, he's not a sugarcoater, and there's no sugarcoating going on in this book. You definitely feel him. You feel the presence of who had tried to help him. It's so sad, right from the beginning, in his words, "Mom, I'm sorry for being born," with his initial, and it was like, wow, and, there are circumstances out there where that may not even be as severe as this, as far as physical abuse and physical abuse, let's put it there. But there are many children out there that even in the stressors of their home that are feeling, should I have been born? I should. And many parents aren't aware of that. Sometimes in their own little just stresses of life, that their children are feeling responsible, for the financial situation in the home. So I always say parenting is such a sacred gift, and everybody, and I definitely do this myself, is just to every day take a step back and be aware of how sacred it is, and we can easily, affect our children's emotional state, and there's a lot of people not walking around not thinking about it, not caring about that, or just never taught it. So it's just an amazing awareness that, this is definitely an extreme experience for him and his brother. And, oh, my God, the protection that he did around his brother was just, oh, I cried for that when he said he left his brother that one time. And, again, the book is just, there's so many things in here that are just so powerful to talk about. There was something that really, breaking spirit, and those were his words, breaking the spirit of a child. We should not break the spirit of children. Every time we do, we crush their confidence. I should know. So he lived in that. So,
he lived in that from the very beginning. From the very beginning. Most people aren't aware. Everything that a child does, they automatically look to the parent for that nod of approval, the little smile on the face. I'm doing okay, right? And when a child doesn't receive any of that, no affirmation that their behavior is right, that their actions are right, they grow up lost. And they didn't learn it. They don't know. And in Mike's case, one of the things he expresses so well in the book is for the rest of us, for the average person to understand is we're so quick to judge people in social situations. We're so quick to, somebody's, weird, or, we draw these conclusions giving no thought to what their experience may have been. And that was one of the biggest lessons that Mike taught me, and that I call his rule, to treat each other with total kindness, for we have no idea what pain one carries around. And all of those early experiences create, in Mike's case, created an adult who was very uncomfortable in social situations, very uncomfortable in things that most of us just do daily and take for granted, because he didn't experience any of it. The dysfunction around him was it was of such a magnitude, he didn't learn what the average kid learns. And so it made being an adult every day a challenge to just do the simplest things for most of us. Going into a restaurant, going into a store, seeking a service, finding out information. All challenging.
Yeah, that's interesting. We don't, people, there's such an, oh God, when you look around, you do, and you see, even with bullying, you don't know a child being bullied just what is going under their roof either, and sometimes I even say sometimes we don't understand the bullier. There's a reason someone's that angry and needs to feel superior or feel bigger, and sometimes I've often wondered that maybe we need to go a little more into both sides of that to stop that cycle. And obviously Mike felt that, felt that kind of experience, and then in some cases felt he was the bullier himself, I guess, in the way he worded some things. But, he was just expressing that energy that was inside of him, and he didn't know any other way.
No.
Any other way. What do you feel, what do you feel like, I'm sure Mike's listening to this, because, we know he's watching over, and he's directing his story more than we know. And, I can definitely see this coming into something on the screen. I don't know if anything has come with that yet, and it's just a strong intuitive feeling I'm getting. And it's the screen or something will come of this. I mean, it's a story that has to be told. And, we're seeing more with addiction now, too, whether it's the Hollywood scene or just people around you or friends or, someone in your family struggling. And, addiction it's just an amazing thing to watch someone when they're suffering, in that. And they get so used to the suffering. It's kind of, it was obviously sad. And it's, and he was so used to suffering that it's like this odd complacency about it. I guess it's all their norm. I mean, even he says, I just wanted to be normal, but his norm was that suffering. And then he just learned to inflict upon himself.
Yes. I heard a report in February on NPR that the leading cause of accidental deaths currently in this country is drug overdose. There were 38,000 last year. And then, of course, this was right about the time that we heard the sad news about Philip Seymour Hoffman. And you're right. All of these things bring this dialogue to the forefront. And it's an epidemic. Absolute epidemic.
Yeah.
Countless people out there struggling.
What do you think, Mike, watching down on this, where do you think he would want his story to go?
On the big screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, maybe that's...
He was featured Mike was an outreach worker on Skid Row. He was a part of a great program called the AmeriCorps program, and he spent every day helping other addicts off the streets and into treatment. And during that time period, his story was featured in 2 documentary films, one called Without a Home and the other called Skid Row. And ever since I knew Mike, it was, I want to tell my story. It's got to get out there. And it's out there now. It's out there in part in these 2 films, and it's out there in this book. And I think Mike would like to see, somebody fabulous playing him, portraying him and his experience, because, again, it is not an unusual story, but a most important story. And at the end of the day, I think Mike would like to see everybody who is suffering from this cycle, trying to break these patterns, pick up a pen and a composition book and start writing their own story. I think that was the way that he found it easiest, and there's nothing easy about it, to get out the pain. That was his therapeutic medium, writing. Mm-hmm. It was his medicine. It was his therapy. So we view the book, Tom Nelson, my co-author, and I, we see this book as a tool for a kid that was Mike to start now, pick up a pen, and start writing.
He drew, too. Now, these are all his original drawings, right?
Some of them are his original drawings, and the others are the drawings of young people that Mike worked with, which is so special. Educationally, he knew with his past and his record and being on the streets and in jail, he knew he had to go all the way. He had to get the college degree if anyone was going to take him seriously and allow him to work with kids. And so in his pursuit of that, he got the ball rolling. And I think, his dream would be to see every kid that's got that same dream, to go to school, to make a difference, get the education, and get out there and do the work.
Yeah, what a amazing spirit, just to be what he experienced, and then to take himself to such levels of being able to help and putting himself in that position to actually be respected. I mean, he worked his way to that. There's a drawing on page 70 that just totally moves me. It's the yin-yang symbol, and then the other symbols of the struggles that are around it. Mm-hmm. That is a very powerful drawing, I have to say. And
he was drawn to that symbol, and I think that was symbolic of the balance that he strived for and craved for, and worked very hard to try to achieve in his own life.
It's a powerful picture. We seek peace and serenity through alcohol. Why we seek peace and serenity through alcohol and drugs is a mystery to me. Do you think in his life he came to an answer on that? Or do you think he would still have, I'm sure now he knows the answer, but do you think he has an understanding? Or did he find that understanding? I mean, you knew him, so.
Mm-hmm. Excellent question. Goes back to the Pink Floyd song, Comfortably Numb. That's why, because in that place of numbness, you're away from the sharpness of the pain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the not feeling, because when you feel, addiction, and I've learned so much from spirit world channeling, helping families understand whether it be a suicide or an overdose. I've dealt with so much of that, And I remember when the wave of that started coming in about 10 years ago, and I was like, my God, here I am, this medium, and I was very used to what I was experiencing as far as, loved ones crossing over, more natural causes or accidents. But all of a sudden, I started getting this wave of, the suicide. And 99% of it was the out-of-body experience in suicide, where you are literally so unplugged from source or the divine or the light of your own spirit that you go out of body. And when you're in that place, that limbo, you have those thoughts. And some, in that moment, make the means or have the means, and it is done. But really, they're out of body. So it was interesting that, when I was looking at that picture, it made me think of a lot of the young people, that I've channeled, and how that this picture just, one side where the darkness is with all the tools of, drugs, alcohol, means to, RIP is.
You know that it's out there. You know that people talk of happiness and light and all these wonderful things, and life can be beautiful. You know it's out there, but when you're in this sort of pattern of addiction, number one, when you're trying to overcome the scars from childhood of turmoil, you somehow just don't think that it applies to you. You think it's for other people, and that you don't get to have that.
I had a friend who she passed more in a natural state, but I remember when we were trying to help her get help, and we would go and bring her to rehab and bring her to hospitals, and there was all these rules, and you can't be intoxicated when you come in, but they are living in a state of intoxication. Well, okay, you got to respect that. Then you wait and you sober up, and then they got to make sure that you're bad enough. Or are you really bad enough? And until they see you, going into DTs. And I'm not putting down a system that is out there trying to help. But I saw many doors shut on her. Yeah. And even when she tried, the doors would shut, and it's something, this book and, people like yourself and, trying to make these changes. And it just seems like the numbers are staggering, aren't they? Of how many people need help. I mean, you work right on the front lines with that. So
yeah, they are staggering, and that was one of Mike's greatest frustrations is the red tape of the system. I think he used to say, "Oh, I got in trouble today for doing the right thing," because he would circumvent. He understood that when you have a window open for 2 seconds when it comes to getting somebody into treatment, getting an individual off the streets and into treatment. There's little time, and yes, so many limitations, and insurance or paperwork or money, and he just wanted to get people into the place where they were going to get some help. But there were many, many obstacles, and it's unfortunate.
What was, sometimes you wonder what you can do, and then you think, well, I like to think that, this show will help someone and others, and, what you're doing is definitely going to help others, and people reading this book and inspire others to help in the way they can. And, I know there's so many people out there really are trying to make a difference for our homeless, for our struggling, and also maybe even, help those who maybe don't have it so bad. They have a roof over their head. They do have a loving parent, that they would be inspired by this book or listening to this or someone sharing it with them in some way, that they could become that teacher or that therapist or that person, because they do have the means to make something like that. And maybe that would take them up from the darkness. And, that's, I guess, a cycle of, it is a cycle, all of this in this rolling wheel of, how to make things change.
And every one of us every day has a chance to do just that, to help someone turn it around, whether it's with a kind word, a smile, a check to a foundation. We all have an opportunity every day to help somebody turn it around.
And that's a great point. Go ahead.
I was just, one of the things that I've heard as far as feedback from some young adults who've been reading the book that struggled with their own pasts and their own addictions, they realize, too, and I think this is one of the things that Mike's book will help people move past, that when you don't deal with the initial trauma and you brush it aside, you think you've handled it. Maybe you have a job, maybe you're going to school, you're doing okay, you've strung together some months or maybe even years of sobriety or being drug-free. What happens is everything comes to the surface at some point in time, and then it's a storm of emotions, and that's when fear sets in, the fear of I'm going to use again. And that is the critical point where somebody needs to get some help. Because you've gone some distance, you've strung the days together, but once you start dealing with these initial traumas, things come up again. And, Mike would say, keep moving through it, feel it, move it, you've got to get it out. You've got to reach down in there to the most painful place and get it out. Because if you don't, it's going to keep coming back up and you're going to have a hard time breaking these patterns.
And you just said it all. And because that's energy, and energy has to express itself, and if you keep that energy inside of you, it has to keep expressing itself. And it will, and it'll scream. And what they have taught me in the channelings, what anxiety is these low frequencies, which are these things he's saying, let out, get them out, that are in there, stuck in the cellular system vibrationally, stuck in the cells and organs. And when they try to move up in vibration, that they're actually, that's what's creating the anxiety. So if we actually sit, and I teach this in meditation all the time, and embrace and give that emotion a color, that awful feeling, color, that whatever it is, even if it's black. I tell people black is absence of light. It's okay. Take black balloons, let them go up into the sky. Instead of putting it back in or taking a pill to suppress it or drinking it down, or take the feeling, ask a friend to be with you, be in a sacred space, or get yourself into a safe place if you need, and let these emotions be felt. Because that, I think, is the missing link in so many treatments. And honestly, I'm a medium. I'm not a therapist in a, technical term of, I got this, and this. But, 20 years of listening to the spiritual realm say the same thing. I couldn't feel it. I didn't let myself feel it, and knowing and understanding that energy will express itself no matter what vibration it is. And in its lowest form, you will take it out on yourself, if not others, which we see so much of in our world now, from young school kids, So they gotta get this energy out of them. These emotions gotta be felt and released. And that's where the spiritual healing comes in, or that's where the spiritual understanding. And some of the things I've looked at, Mike definitely reached for the spiritual side. And I think that was a click for him, because vibrationally it clicked. And then you get this unbelievable strength that you don't even know where it came from. Or the angels, as he says about you, the angel out of nowhere, he meets you. And there you are, in that place where he was. Can you tell us a little bit or share a little bit about the meeting him for the first time?
Sure. Yeah, Mike I was working in a program under the city of Los Angeles designed to help people get to work. And Mike came in to look into an on-the-job training opportunity that the city was offering. And that's how we met. And I saw in him that this is a young man who has a hand out, who wants to create a good life for himself and just needed the support. Needed someone to care. Needed someone to help him do the things that were difficult for him to do. And in my case, it was, everything academic and, how to interview and workplace etiquette, all those kinds of things I could help him with. And, but what I saw in Mike was so much. He was the kind of guy that had a whole room laughing. And that was one of the things that always astounded me about him, that in the midst of the pain that he experienced in his own life, he had such humor, such a great sense of humor, quick one-liners, always had everybody laughing and feeling good. In the early days that I knew him, I literally saw him multiple times give somebody his last dollar and the shirt off his back. That's who he was. He was a protector of those who were weak, a protector of those who were the victims of the bullies, and in any situation, he would go to somebody's defense. Just a huge heart. And, we were best friends. He was just one of those special people that I feel so privileged to have had in my life for the time that I did. And when I met him, he said, my dream is to help kids who went through the hell that I went through, and you're going to help me. And, he was, talk about declaring your intentions. And when he met Tom, my co-author and good friend Tom Nelson, the minute that he heard that Tom was a writer, you're going to help me tell my story too. And, it was like he declared these intentions, and, some years had come to pass, and everything that he wanted came true. Everything that he dreamt of had come true. And if one kid picks up a pen and a composition book and starts writing his or her own story after reading Mike's, his dream is true. It's realized.
Wow. That's beautiful. And I think something in our system, our school systems, they need to encourage this more. There's so many kids that are going there. Their own emotions are suppressed, whether it's just through, they don't want anyone to know their own life, or, they're medicated. And those are my thoughts on that. And, and what that can lead to. And then, if they gave them an outlet in that, I have a 14-year-old, and there's nothing I see that he takes home that has any kind of that going on. And if our children aren't getting it at home, they need to be getting it in their school systems. Is there anything out there that you feel is where the system could change? I mean, they fight for this core and common stuff, and I get all confused with all these things. Why aren't they incorporating these social graces or social something? I don't know what the word grace meaning in the sacred form of the word more than, social grace,
Well, one thing that comes to mind is just it's got to start at the earliest parts. Our education system takes a kid like Mike, who so clearly, exhibited that terror was happening at home from the earliest ages, second grade, first grade, third grade. We don't do a good job in our school system of helping these kids. Instead, we punish these kids because they're disruptive, or they don't do their work, or they're exhibiting bad behavior. And we do not have a structure in place in our schools, in my opinion, to really get in there and see what's going on. I don't know. Is it manpower? Not enough people? Not enough teachers? Not enough counselors? What is it? Not enough people to care? It's too difficult. But in the case of Mike and a million other kids, the ball is dropped right from the beginning. These are the kids that need the help the most, and they're the ones that are automatically labeled, and they're the troubled kids, and nobody wants to deal with them. So we need to do a better job there.
We definitely do, and sometimes maybe as simple as, like you said, maybe just smiling at a kid in school. Encourage your kids, at home to, be nice to someone who may be, looking a little down or even angry. Just smile, and maybe that one little smile. The power of a smile is amazing. It can bring comfort. It can make someone just feel a little less ill at ease. If they're, like you said, it's going to happen in these social situations where they are, in their lunchroom, in their hallways, and, or like you said, in the restaurant, the things that we take for granted. And, people wonder why there's so much, sometimes energy that's in places. You can feel it, it's such a myth. But, energy is energy, and we're going to be amongst the high and the low frequencies. But, it's up to us if we're more aware to bring that smile out to someone in that light, and, buy someone's coffee tomorrow, or, you know what I mean? And just, pay it forward. You see a lot of that going on. Deana, I can't believe how fast our time has gone. I never even broke to questions, but I want you to give your contact information, anything else you want to say that may be going on about Mike's book, the story, and anything you want to share. Why don't you go ahead and share it with the listeners?
Okay, well, I would love for everyone to visit www.childrenofwarbook.com. to see more about Mike and the work that we're doing to further his dream. I'd like to also really say thank you to Black Rose Writing for publishing our book. Big love for them. I have another wonderful opportunity to share information about the book coming up actually tomorrow on tradiov.com on a show called Encounters with Eric and Eliza. So I'm excited about that. The response has been incredible. I've been going out to a lot of youth centers and foundations, schools, talking with therapists, case managers, teachers, bringing books for them to start passing on to kids they know will benefit from reading Mike's story. And we just want to keep it up, keep getting it out there, and do the work. Do the work and help others do the work that they need to do to lead happy lives.
Awesome. Thank you to you and to Tom Nelson. You're also your co-writer, right? Yeah, you guys wrote it together. And, anything that I can do, if you need some meditation CDs donated or anything to someone, just let me know. I'll gladly send them out. I've done that already to a few shelters in New York, and I gladly will share if you think it can help. My website even has under Meditation Corner a silent center meditation that's awesome in kind of helping people get their certain thoughts outside of their own energy field, conscious mind, things that need to be let go of. And it's very easy. It says kids meditation on there, and it's called Silent Center, but it can be printed out, and it's really for any age. But it's the kids, that's where I did it for a kids meditation group I was doing a while back. But yeah, any age can do it. So that's something that if you want to, share it, go ahead.
Absolutely.
It's printed out.
Absolutely. Thank you.
On the website.
They are receptive. Young people, they are receptive, and they do want to expand their awareness, and they do want to know more about meditation and going.
Absolutely. Maybe we can Skype in. We could set up a time and I'll Skype in, and I'll bring your group or some groups into meditation. Get with me on that. I'll gladly do that.
I'd love it. Thank you.
Deana, thank you for being on, and I appreciate it. And anything, again, I can do for you, I'm here. And good luck to everything. And I'll look forward to giving you a hug, okay?
Yes, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thanks for having me on the show.
You're very welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Everyone, please check out Children of War, the Mike Rodriguez story. Awesome book, available on Amazon, and you can go to my website if you have any questions and shoot me an email. But there is, like she said, the website, childrenofwarbook.com. Go on over to that website and check it out.